She was just a quiet cashier, until a girl whispered, "You don't belong here." Hours later, armed men stormed the store and went straight for her. Before we dive in, if you love stories that hit you with secrets, danger, and twists you never see coming, go ahead and like this video and subscribe right now. Because trust me, this story, it only gets darker from here. The gunshot came later, but if anyone had walked into the grocery store that morning, they would have said it was just another ordinary day. Fluorescent lights buzzed faintly overhead. The hum of refrigerators blended with soft music playing from old ceiling speakers. Shopping carts rolled across the tiled floor in uneven rhythms. And behind register 3 stood Bridgette. She moved with quiet efficiency, scanning items, bagging groceries, smiling just enough to be polite but not enough to invite conversation. Her name tag sat neatly on her chest, slightly worn at the edges from years of use. Everyone knew her, not in a loud way or a dramatic way, but in the way people trust someone who never changes. "She's always here," one customer whispered once. "I don't think I've ever seen her late," another replied. They weren't wrong. Bridgette had worked at the store for 4 years. 4 years of early mornings, double shifts, and never calling in sick. 4 years of being dependable in a world that had rarely been dependable to her. Routine made things easier, predictable, safe. "Morning, Bridgette," her manager called out from the back. She looked up briefly and nodded. "Morning." Her voice was soft, calm, always controlled. That was another thing about her. She never seemed rattled. No one knew why. No one asked. It was just past noon when the bell above the door chimed. Bridgette didn't look up immediately. She was scanning a pack of bottled water for an older woman who kept fumbling with her purse. "Take your time," Bridgette said gently. But something shifted in the air. Not loud, not obvious, just different. She glanced toward the entrance. And there she was, the girl. Same as always. 16, maybe 17. Slim build, dark hoodie, even in warm weather. Her hair tucked in loosely, like she didn't care enough to fix it properly. But it wasn't her clothes that stood out. It was her eyes. She looked around the store like she was searching for something, or someone. Then she spotted Bridgette. And smiled. It wasn't a big smile, but it was real. Bridgette felt herself relax without realizing she had tensed up. "You're back," she said as the girl approached the counter. "Of course," the girl replied lightly. "Where else would I go?" There was something about the way she said it, half joke, half truth. Bridgette rang up her items. Bread, juice, snacks, always simple things. "You come here a lot," Bridgette said. "Maybe I like the service." Bridgette raised an eyebrow slightly. "Or maybe you just don't like other stores." The girl tilted her head, amused. "Or maybe I like you." That earned the smallest smile from Bridgette. Their conversations had started like this weeks ago. Small, harmless exchanges. But somehow, they kept going. Every day, the girl returned. Every day, they talked a little longer. It was strange. Bridgette wasn't the type to make friends easily. She didn't trust easily, didn't open up. But with this girl, it felt natural. Too natural. "Did you ever think about leaving?" the girl asked suddenly. Bridgette blinked. "Leaving? This place, this job, this routine?" Bridgette shrugged slightly. "It's stable." "That's not what I asked." Bridgette paused, scanning the last item slower than usual. "I don't really think about it," she said. The girl studied her carefully, not in a judgmental way, but in a way that felt deeper than it should, like she was trying to understand something hidden beneath the surface. "You should," the girl said softly. "You don't belong here." Bridgette let out a quiet breath. "And where exactly do I belong?" The girl didn't answer immediately. Instead, she leaned forward slightly, resting her arms on the counter. "Somewhere bigger," she said. "Somewhere that actually matters." Something about that made Bridgette uncomfortable. Not the words, but the certainty behind them. The bell chimed again as another customer walked in, breaking the moment. Bridgette handed over the receipt. "You're starting to sound like a motivational speaker." The girl smirked. "And you're avoiding the question." "Maybe I just like it here." "No," the girl said quietly. "You just think it's all you have." That landed harder than it should have. Bridgette's smile faded slightly. For a brief second, something flickered across her face. Something deeper. Something older. But just as quickly as it appeared, it was gone. "Same time tomorrow?" the girl asked, picking up her bag. Bridgette hesitated. then nodded. Yeah. The girl turned to leave, but just before she reached the door, she stopped, looked back, and for the first time since they'd met, her expression changed. The warmth disappeared, replaced by something else, something serious, something almost worried. You really don't remember anything, do you? She asked. Bridgette frowned. Remember what? The girl held her gaze for a long second, then shook her head slightly. Nothing, she said. See you tomorrow. And just like that, she was gone. Bridgette stood there for a moment longer than necessary. Something about that question didn't sit right. You don't remember anything. Remember what? She had memories, a childhood, fragments, at least, foster homes, moving around, learning early not to depend on anyone. It wasn't perfect, but it was something, right? Bridgette. She snapped back to reality. A customer stood in front of her, waiting. Sorry, she said quickly, forcing a smile. Next in line. The rhythm resumed. Scan. Bag. Smile. Normal. Safe. Predictable. But somewhere in the back of her mind, that question lingered, and for reasons she couldn't explain. It made her uneasy. Across the street, unseen by anyone inside the store, a black car sat parked, engine running, windows tinted, watching. Inside the car, a man in a suit lowered his phone slowly. She's still here, he said. A voice on the other end responded, calm and cold. Good. The man glanced toward the store again. What about the girl? A pause. Then, keep watching them. Back inside, Bridgette laughed softly at something a customer said. For a moment, everything felt normal again. But it wouldn't stay that way for long. By the next afternoon, the question was still in Bridgette's head. You really don't remember anything, do you? It didn't make sense. She had memories. Maybe not perfect ones, maybe not complete, but enough, or at least, she thought so. The store was quieter than usual that day. A slow weekday, fewer customers, longer gaps between conversations. Bridgette stood behind the counter, organizing receipts that didn't need organizing. Her eyes kept drifting to the entrance. She didn't know why. Maybe she did. The bell chimed. Her head lifted instantly. And there she was. Same hoodie. Same calm walk. Same eyes scanning the room before landing on her. But today, something felt different. The girl wasn't smiling. You're late, Bridgette said lightly, trying to shake off the strange feeling. The girl shrugged. Had something to do. Something important. The girl placed a bottle of juice on the counter. Everything I do is important. Bridgette smiled faintly. That sounds exhausting. You get used to it. Bridgette rang up the item, but as she handed over the receipt, she noticed something. The girl's hands. They were slightly tense, not shaking, just tight, like she was holding something in. You okay? Bridgette asked. The girl looked up. For a second, it seemed like she might say something real, something honest. But then, I'm fine, she said, too quickly. Silence stretched between them, uncomfortable, unusual. This wasn't how their conversations usually went. Hey, Bridgette said, leaning slightly on the counter. You want to grab lunch later? The girl blinked, caught off guard. Lunch? Yeah. You keep coming here, we keep talking. Figured we could try talking somewhere that doesn't involve a register. For the first time that day, the girl smiled. A real one. Yeah, she said. I'd like that. They met an hour later at a small diner 2 streets away. Nothing fancy. Worn booths. Faded menus. The smell of fried food lingering in the air. But it was quiet. Private. Bridgette sat across from the girl, watching her as she stirred her drink absent-mindedly. You ever gonna tell me your name? Bridgette asked. The girl glanced up. You never asked. I just did. A small pause. Then, Lina. Bridgette nodded. Lina. It fit. And you? Lina asked. Bridgette. I know. Bridgette raised an eyebrow. You read my name tag. Lina didn't respond immediately. Instead, she looked at her with that same, searching gaze. I know more than that, she said quietly. Something about the way she said it made Bridgette's chest tighten. But she brushed it off. Like what? She asked, half joking. Lina leaned back slightly, studying her. Like how you always arrive at work 15 minutes early, she said. How you always check the exits without realizing it. How you don't like sitting with your back to the door. Bridgette's smile faded. How do you know that? Bridgette asked slowly. Lina shrugged. I notice things. That's not just noticing. That's just paying attention. Bridget leaned back, crossing her arms slightly. You've been watching me. Lina tilted her head. Haven't you been watching me? That stopped her, because she had. The waitress came by, dropping off their food. Neither of them touched it immediately. You're different, Lina said after a moment. Different how? You don't react like normal people. Bridget let out a small laugh. That's not exactly a compliment. I mean it as one. Lina leaned forward slightly. Her voice softer now, more serious. Most people panic easily, she said. They hesitate. They freeze. But you're always aware. Like you're waiting for something to happen. Bridget's fingers tightened slightly around her fork. That's not true. Isn't it? For a moment, neither of them spoke. The noise of the diner filled the silence. Plates clinking, people talking, life moving on. I think you're wrong, Bridget said finally. Lina nodded slowly. Maybe. But her expression said otherwise. They ate after that. The conversation lightened. Jokes, small stories, moments that felt normal again. Almost. But every now and then, Bridget caught Lina watching her. Not casually, not friendly, but like she was trying to memorize her. After lunch, they stepped outside. The sun was lower now, casting long shadows across the street. This was nice, Bridget said. Yeah, Lina replied. She hesitated. Then, we should do it again. Bridget smiled. I'd like that. They stood there for a moment, neither moving. Then Lina spoke again, quietly. Can I ask you something? Sure. Lina stepped a little closer, close enough that her voice dropped lower, more private. Do you ever have dreams, she began, that don't feel like dreams? Bridget frowned slightly. What do you mean? Like memories, Lina said, but you don't remember living them. Something shifted, deep inside Bridget. For a split second, a flash, fire, a loud noise, someone shouting. Her breath caught. Then it was gone. She blinked, shaken. I don't know what you're talking about, she said quickly. Too quickly. Lina didn't push, but her eyes, they saw it. Okay, she said softly. A car passed by. The moment broke. I should go, Lina added. Bridget nodded. Yeah, me too. They started to walk in opposite directions. But after a few steps, Lina stopped. Bridget. She turned. Lina looked at her, and this time, there was no smile, no softness, only seriousness. You shouldn't be here tomorrow. Bridget blinked. What? Lina hesitated, like she was deciding whether to say more. Then she shook her head. Just take a day off, she said. That's random. Just do it. Bridget let out a small laugh. You're starting to sound like you know something. Lina didn't laugh. I do. Silence. A strange, heavy silence. Bridget's smile slowly faded. What are you talking about? She asked. Lina stepped back, putting distance between them. Just trust me, she said. And then, she turned and walked away, leaving Bridget standing there, confused, uneasy. That feeling again, stronger now. That something wasn't right. Across the street, the same black car Saturday, watching. Inside, the man in the suit spoke quietly into his phone. They met outside. A pause. She warned her. Another pause, longer this time. Then the voice on the other end spoke. Cold, controlled. That's a problem. The man swallowed slightly. What should we do? A brief silence. Then, proceed as planned. Back on the street, Bridget stood alone. And for the first time in a long time, she felt something she couldn't explain. Fear. Bridget didn't take the day off. She thought about it. More than once. Lina's voice kept replaying in her head. You shouldn't be here tomorrow. Just trust me. But that didn't make sense. Take a day off. For what? There was no explanation. No reason. And Bridget wasn't the kind of person who stayed home because of a feeling. Feelings didn't pay bills. So she showed up. Like always. 15 minutes early. The store looked the same. Felt the same. Sounded the same. But something about it wasn't. It started small. The security guard at the entrance. He wasn't the usual one. Bridget noticed immediately. Different posture, different face. He gave her a nod as she walked in. She nodded back, but her eyes lingered a second too long. He didn't look like he belonged there. Morning, her manager called. Morning. Everything continued. Normal, routine, safe. But her body didn't feel safe. She kept glancing at the door, at the aisles, at reflections in the glass. Just like Lina said, you always check the exits. Bridget exhaled slowly. Stop it, she muttered under her breath. You're overthinking. The hours passed. Customers came and went. Nothing happened. By noon, she almost laughed at herself. Maybe Lina was just being dramatic. Maybe she imagined that tension. Then the bell chimed. Bridget looked up instantly. Lina. She walked in slower than usual, her eyes scanning the store quickly. Sharp, focused. When they locked eyes, Bridget felt it. Something was wrong. You came, Bridget said quietly. Lina walked up to the counter. You didn't listen. I told you not to come today. Bridget leaned in slightly. Then tell me why. Lina hesitated. Her fingers curled slightly against the counter. Before she could answer, the door slammed open. Not the soft chime this time. Not the usual entrance. A loud, violent, false. 3 men rushed in. Masks, dark clothing, weapons drawn. Everything froze. For 1 second, the entire store went silent. Then, everyone on the ground. Screams erupted. Carts crashed. People dropped. Bridget's heart slammed against her chest. Lina knew. She turned to her. Lina was already looking at her. Not scared. Not surprised. Ready. That was the moment Bridget knew. This wasn't random. Phones down. Now, one of the robbers shouted. Another kicked over a display shelf. Glass shattered. Bridget slowly raised her hands. Her breathing steady. Controlled. But her eyes were watching everything. Positions. Distances. Exits. She wasn't panicking. She was calculating. Get down, Lina whispered beside her. Bridget glanced at her. You knew this would happen. Lina didn't respond. Down, a robber yelled, pointing his gun directly at them. Bridget lowered herself slowly, but Lina didn't move. Lina, Bridget whispered. But Lina stayed standing. I said get down, the robber shouted, stepping closer. Still, Lina didn't move. Her eyes were locked on him. Not afraid. Almost defiant. What are you doing? Bridget hissed. Lina's voice was calm. Too calm. He won't shoot me. Bridget's stomach dropped. What? The robber's grip tightened. His finger near the trigger. Don't test me, he growled. But something was off. His hand was shaking. He was nervous. Lina, Bridget started. Then she saw it. The way the other robbers glanced at each other. Confused, uncertain. Like something about this wasn't going according to plan. Move, the robber barked again. Lina took 1 step forward instead. Closer. That's a mistake, she said quietly. Everything slowed down. Bridget didn't think. She moved. She grabbed Lina and pulled her back. The gun fired. The sound exploded through the store. Pain. White hot. Blinding. Bridget gasped as her body jerked. 1 shot, then another, then another. She hit the ground hard. The world became noise. Screaming, shouting, running. Somewhere, Lina was yelling her name. Bridget. Her vision blurred. But she could still hear. Why did you do that? Lina's voice cracked. Bridget tried to speak, but no words came out. Footsteps rushed in, more shouting. Drop your weapons. Police. Too fast. Gunfire echoed again. Then silence. Heavy, sudden. Bridgette lay on the floor, her body numb, her breathing shallow. She felt something warm on her hand. Lina. Holding her. You're not supposed to die, Lina whispered, voice shaking. Not supposed to? Bridgette tried to focus. Through the haze, she saw one of the robbers, lying on the floor, barely alive. He was staring at Lina. Not with anger. With fear. His lips moved. We weren't supposed to touch you. Bridgette's eyes widened slightly. You. Not them. Huh. Then, everything went dark. But just before she lost consciousness, she heard Lina's voice. Not panicked, not broken. Cold, controlled. Now you've ruined everything. Darkness swallowed her. The first thing Bridgette felt was pain. Not sharp anymore, not immediate, but deep, like her body had been replaced with something heavier than bone. She tried to move. Nothing responded properly. Her eyelids felt glued together. Her throat was dry. Her breathing came in short, uneven pulls. A voice was nearby. Soft, familiar. Stay with me, please. Lina. Bridgette forced her eyes open. Everything was blurry at first. White lights, moving shadows, machines beeping in steady rhythm. Hospital. She was in a hospital. Her head turned slightly, and there she was. Lina sat beside her bed, leaning forward, elbows on her knees. Her hair was messy now, her hoodie slightly stained. But her eyes, they were locked on Bridgette like she was the only thing in the world. You're awake, Lina said quickly. Relief flashed across her face, but it didn't stay long. Something else replaced it. Something heavier. Bridgette tried to speak. Her lips moved slowly. What happened? Her voice was barely audible. Lina hesitated, then forced a small smile. You got shot, she said softly. 3 times. Bridgette's eyes widened slightly. She tried to process it. The store, the gun shops. Lina standing there like she wasn't afraid. The man saying we weren't supposed to touch you. Her chest tightened. Where are they? Gone, Lina replied. Too quickly. Police arrived fast, Lina added. Too fast. Bridgette stared at her. Something about Lina's tone. It wasn't normal. It wasn't like someone who just survived a robbery. Why are you here? Bridgette whispered. Lina blinked. Asking the wrong question, she said quietly. A pause. Then she leaned closer. You should be asking why you're still alive. Silence. Heavy. Uncomfortable. Bridgette frowned slightly. What does that mean? Lina looked away for a moment, like she was thinking, or remembering. Then she spoke. Slowly, carefully. They weren't supposed to shoot you, she said. Bridgette's heart skipped. What? Lina continued. They had instructions. To avoid you. Bridgette tried to sit up. Pain shot through her body instantly. She winced. Instructions from who? If this is already messing with your head, imagine what's coming next. Go ahead and like the video if you're feeling this, and tell me in the comments, do you think she's really innocent, or is she hiding something even worse? I read every single comment. Lina didn't answer immediately. Instead, she looked at the door, then the window, then back at Bridgette. Someone who doesn't want you remembered. That sentence hit harder than the bullets. Bridgette's breathing grew uneven. I don't understand. Lina sighed, softly, like she was tired of holding something in. You were never just a grocery store worker, Bridgette. Bridgette stared at her. What are you talking about? Lina stood up slowly, walked toward the window. Outside, 2 men in suits stood near the hospital entrance, watching. Lina lowered her voice. You're being watched right now. Bridgette turned her head slightly. Her eyes followed Lina's gaze. The men outside, still, silent, observing. Her stomach tightened. Who are they? She asked. Lina didn't answer immediately. Instead, she closed the curtains halfway. Then turned back. You really don't remember anything, do you? That question again. Bridgette's hands curled slightly. I don't remember anything because nothing happened, she snapped weakly. Lina didn't react to the anger, only sadness. You were adopted, she said. Bridgette froze. What? You were adopted, Lina repeated, but not the way you think. Bridgette shook her head. No, I was in foster care. I remember. No, Lina interrupted gently. Those memories were placed there. A silence so deep it felt like time stopped. Bridgette stared at her. That's not possible. Lina nodded slowly. It is. She moved back to the chair, sat down again. And for the first time, she looked tired. They erased parts of your past, Lina said, because of what you saw. Bridgette's breathing quickened. I saw nothing. Lina looked at her directly. You saw everything. Suddenly, a flash hit Bridgette's mind. Not clear, not complete, but real. A house, screaming, a man holding her, another man on the floor, blood, fire. She gasped sharply. Pain spiked through her head. Stop, she whispered. Lina stood immediately. Bridgette. Bridgette gripped the bed, her body trembling. What is that? She breathed. Lina didn't look surprised, only concerned. That's what they tried to remove, she said quietly. Silence. Bridgette's hands shook. I don't understand. I don't understand. Lina sat back down slowly. Her voice softened. You were there the night your parents died. The room froze. Everything stopped. Even the beeping machine seemed quieter. Bridgette looked at her. Slowly. No. Yes, Lina said. Bridgette's lips parted, but no words came out. Lina continued, and it wasn't a robbery. A pause. Heavy. It was a cleanup. Bridgette felt her chest tighten. What are you saying? Lina looked down for a moment, then back up. The man you think killed your parents. She paused. Didn't. Bridgette shook her head violently. No, that's not true. Lina leaned forward slightly. Her voice dropped lower. He saved you. Silence. Bridgette stared at her like she was speaking another language. Save me from what? She whispered. Lina didn't answer immediately. Instead, she stood again, walked to the door, locked it, then returned, and sat closer this time. You weren't supposed to survive that night either, she said. Bridgette's breath hitched. Lina's eyes darkened slightly. But you did. A long silence. Then Lina said something softer, almost like a warning. And now they know you're awake again. Outside the hospital window, one of the men in suits lifted a phone. Report, he said. A pause. Then, she remembers. The word she remembers didn't just travel through a phone. They traveled like a signal being passed through something much larger. Something organized. Something watching. Inside the hospital room, Bridgette didn't hear the call outside, but she felt it. That strange pressure in the air. Like the world had just shifted slightly, and she was no longer standing in the same version of it. Lina stayed close to the door for a moment after locking it, then slowly turned back to Bridgette. Her face had changed again. Not softer, not colder either. Something in between. You need to stay calm, Lina said. Bridgette let out a weak, broken laugh. Calm, she whispered. I just found out my entire life might be fake. Lina didn't respond immediately. She walked back to the chair and sat down. This time, she didn't try to comfort her. She didn't try to soften anything. I didn't come into your life by accident, Lina said. Bridgette stayed at her. What? Lina looked down at her hands for a second, then back up. I was assigned to watch you. Silence dropped instantly. Heavy. Sharp. Bridgette frowned. Assigned. Lina nodded. Yes. A pause. Then. From the moment you started working at that store, I was already there before you. Bridgette's heart started pounding harder. You're lying. Lina shook her head slowly. I'm not. She leaned forward slightly, her voice lowered. You just didn't notice me because I wasn't supposed to be noticed. Bridget's mouth went dry. I thought you were just a customer, she whispered. Lina gave a small, sad smile. That's the point. A long silence followed. Only the hospital machines filled the space. Beep, beep, beep. Bridget tried to sit up again. Her body screamed in protest. She ignored it. Who are you? She asked finally. Lina hesitated. For the first time, she looked unsure. Then she said it. My brother is the one you think killed your parents. The room froze again. Even the beeping felt distant. Bridget's breath stopped for a moment. Your brother? Lina nodded. Yes. Bridget shook her head slowly. No, that's not possible. You're saying that I'm connected to the man you fear. Lina finished. Silence. Bridget's hands trembled slightly. Why would you be watching me? Lina didn't answer immediately. Instead, she stood again, walked toward the window. Outside, the same men in suits were gone, but the feeling of being watched remained. They didn't want you dead today, Lina said quietly. They wanted to confirm something. Bridget frowned. Confirm what? Lina turned back slowly. That you still exist. A chill ran through the room. Bridget whispered, why would that matter? Lina stepped closer. Because everyone thought you died 12 years ago. Silence shattered everything. Bridget blinked. 12 years. Her voice cracked slightly. That's not true. Lina shook her head. It is. Then she said something even worse. You weren't raised in foster care, Bridget. Bridget's breathing became uneven. No, I was. I remember. Those memories were inserted, Lina interrupted. Bridget shook her head harder. No, that's insane. Lina stepped closer again. Her voice softened. You were taken after the fire. Bridget froze. Fire. The word hit something deep inside her mind. Another flash. Screaming. A hallway. A woman calling her name. A hand grabbing her. Bridget gasped sharply. Pain shot through her head. Stop, she whispered. Lina didn't stop. Not now. You were the only survivor, Lina said. And the only witness. Silence. Bridget's voice came out broken. To what? Lina looked at her for a long moment, then answered. To what my brother did before he became who he is. Bridget stayed at her. What did he do? Lina didn't answer right away. Instead, she walked back to the chair, sat down again. And for the first time, her voice shook slightly. He didn't kill your parents, she said slowly. He erased them. Bridget's eyes widened. Erased? Lina nodded. Yes. A pause. Then. He wasn't supposed to find you that night, Lina continued. But he did. Bridget whispered. Why? Lina looked directly at her. Because your parents weren't innocent. Silence. Bridget felt like the room was shrinking. No, she whispered. They were just. Lina cut in gently. People don't get erased for nothing. A long silence followed. Then Lina stood again, walked to the door, unlocked it. Bridget frowned. Where are you going? Lina hesitated, just for a moment, then looked back. They know I told you too much. And now they're coming for both of us. She opened the door, and the hallway outside was no longer empty. If this story pulled you in, you're not ready for what happens next. Hit subscribe now, because the next part drops soon, and you do not want to miss it. And before you go, comment I'm ready if you want the next episode immediately.